Remember when I said this week on Monday's show, we're going to have a show, we're going to take some time off, we're going to chill out, relax. Well, the NFL said, up yours, you're doing a show. So welcome everyone to No Credentials Required, where you don't need a press pass to talk football, to talk any other sport, sports in general. We're presented by Belly Up Sports. My name is Ryan McCarthy. I'm one of your hosts. To my right is a man who is saving his pennies to buy himself the Seattle Seahawks. Dustin Henry. Dustin, how are you doing today, this morning? Oh my goodness.
I'm doing all right. And like you said, we had plans and the NFL had other plans for us. You know, I got a phone call and I'm sure you did too, Ryan, but one of the owners was particularly passionate. He said, "You're doing a show. I don't think you understand. You're doing a show." Apparently he watches every week, and it's not who you'd expect. Dean Spanos called me and gave me a piece of his mind.
Oh my gosh. That had to be quite a conversation.
It was kind of it didn't move in too many spots because he's already moved things enough, you know.
I'm surprised you get the same phone call from Stan Kroenke.
Yeah, I was expecting it. And of course, you think with Jerry's spot on the show, we would have heard from him, but we did not. But all jokes aside, I am doing well this morning. I'm ready to go. And you reached out to me last night. You're like, hey, kind of a lot of news happened. And I'm like, I'm ready to go if you are. And so here we are. I'm happy. I'm excited to be talking some football and some off-season moves. I mean, because it's the off-season for some teams, not mine currently, but for some.
Well, definitely for mine.
But how are you today, sir?
I'm doing all right. I got the last of my Shadow blend, Shadow Systems collaboration blend of Invader Coffee this morning. So I'm enjoying that. And I said, Dustin, I was getting ready to go out last night, go down to my favorite watering hole in the area. And I said, everything that's happened in the NFL this week, maybe we should do a show tomorrow. And Dustin's like, I'm down if you're down. I'm like, all right, I'll set things up. So I didn't get to set things up this morning, but yeah, we got to talk about some of this stuff that happened in the NFL this week, the off-field stuff, not so much on-field stuff, but off-field stuff. We're live on Facebook. We're live on Twitch. We're also live on the Belly Up Sports Twitter today as well. We'll also be available later today on the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel, again, in collaboration with our YouTube channel. So check out our collaborations page on the YouTube side. Also subscribe to Belly Up Sports and follow Belly Up Sports on a number of social media channels, including Facebook, including Twitter, including Instagram. But before we go into everything that happened off the field this week, we got to remind people about our social media. Our social media channels, again, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch. Just search No Credentials Required or at NoCredsREQ. You can also find our other podcasts and written articles at bellyupsports.com. On the podcast side, subscribe to the podcast where you're able to listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Music, iHeart, TuneIn, Pandora, and our host, Podbean, Freshly Brewed Podcasts. Hit that notification bell on Twitter and on YouTube so we know when shows go live, when shows go on air, when we have clips of the show that go up, when we have social media announcements that go up just about future shows and whatnot. We're gonna have a off-site production meeting very soon.
Yes,
to talk about the spring, what's coming up for the spring. I mentioned this during our one of our shows back in August or early September, or late August, early September. So there's gonna be some changes during the spring. So nothing bad, but no. Our schedule is going to stagger a little bit in terms of how often we go live and whatnot. But we'll let you know after we've had our off-season production. And in terms of baseball, we're only going to cover one team this year. One team, not the entirety of the league. That got a little much last year, but we're going to cover one team and one team only. I think you know that which team we're going to cover.
Paging George Costanza.
Do I have that? Did I upload
that?
Man, yes, I did.
New York Yankees?
The New York Yankees!
Ruth Gehrig? DiMaggio, Mantle, Costanza.
And soon Henry and McCarthy.
That's right. That's right. With occasional appearances from Levesque, maybe he's a monster Yankee fan.
He is a monster Yankee fan. Gaz, not so much.
Oh yeah. That's a notice. That's I didn't leave you out, Gaz, because I don't like you. I left you out because you're not a Yankee guy.
And hey, another Yankee game we meant to bring back.
Oh yes,
certain tribal chief.
Definitely.
The following is a public service announcement from Wise El Jefe,
Boston.
This has been a public service announcement from Wise El Jefe.
I saw him the other day on Snowman in the Morning. He did an overtime session with him. So nice. talking about content creation and AI and all that interesting stuff. So we're gonna have to bring him back for some in the summer for talk to some Yankees. But anyway, on the podcast side, rate, review, comment. 5-star rating would be helpful. Leave a review on podcast platforms like our host, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Good Pods. Also, leave a comment if you're listening on Spotify. Also, if you're watching on the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel, leave a comment below about all the news that happened, off-field news that happened this week in the NFL. We're also live 10 a.m. Eastern on Saturdays, most Tuesdays or Mondays most Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. Although we do the occasional Monday, we are going to have a Tuesday show this week, but we're going to be joined by a special guest. Our special guest will be friend of the show, Drew Willingham, coming back to the show. We're going to be doing our final season grades for the NFL team. So 6:30, join us for that. And then next Saturday is our Super Bowl preview. I'm working on guests for that. We might bring back past guests. We might bring in a new person. We don't know yet. We're figuring it out. But in the meantime, join us. We got comments in the comment section. And Dustin, it's cold outside. It's bitterly cold outside.
Yeah.
But this tune always seems to warm you up.
Oh man, even on a planned day off, I'm not even supposed to be here. Your view's a little askew if you get that reference. It's always chime time.
It certainly is. And we got James, friend of the show, James, saying, "Good morning, gents. One more week of football left. Hard to believe. It's very true." He also says, "Being the 5th generation Yankee partisan that I am, I approve." Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't realize James was a Yankee fan.
I didn't know either. I know he's kind of all over he's like you. He's all over the place with his sports team. He's an Eagles fan. He is a
Sharks,
San Jose
right?
Sharks fan.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize I don't know if he watches basketball. I know he's a soccer fan. But he is but surprising to find out, Yankee fan. Like, all right, cool. Jump aboard. Talking lots and lots of Yankees this spring and summer. All right, let's move on. We're gonna move on to our first topic of the week. And he's a Timberwolves fan of the NBA.
Oh, okay.
Jeez,
all right.
Man, I found someone like you who's like all over the place with his teams.
Were you a big I'm guessing, James, and reply to us in the comments if I'm right. You were a big Garnett fan back in the day? He made a lot of Timberwolves fans.
Yep, for sure. All right, we're going to talk about our primary topics for this week. This is NFL, crazy week in the NFL, but we had to touch upon this first. We had to touch upon the fact that the Hall of Fame finalists were named for the Pro Football Hall of Fame this week, and there was a certain first ballot head coach who missed the cut. That's right, Bill Belichick, snubbed in his first ballot Hall of Fame, in the first ballot of Hall of Fame voting. I guess the threshold for Hall of Fame is 40 out of 50 votes for the first round, and he missed out on those votes. But let's talk about this a little bit, Dustin. Everybody else is talking about it. We got to talk about it too.
Yeah, of course.
What was your feeling when that news came out saying, wow, Bill Belichick, first round snub, incredible?
Well, first of all, it's baffling. Okay. And I'm a person, I am not the biggest fan of Bill Belichick. And I know the reasons, I think, I know that the reasons that this happened, they're not good reasons, but I think he is being punished for his relationship or lack thereof with the media, the way he treated people. He is being punished for Spygate, Deflategate, et al. He is being punished for that. And I do think there is a faction of people, and this is incorrect because remember, he won. The guys on Seahawks Sessions corrected me last night. 11 games with Matt Castle at quarterback that season. But there's a perception that Belichick cannot do anything without Tom Brady. And I think what is going to help Tom Brady when his time comes and he is eligible, one, he plays a glamour position. He plays the quarterback, and he won that ring in Tampa Bay. So Brady's in, no question about it. Belichick, though, if he doesn't get in first ballot Hall of Fame, who does? Because there's a compelling argument, love him or hate him, Bill Belichick is perhaps the greatest coach ever to do it. You're going to tell me Bill Walsh didn't get in first ballot? You're going to tell me, some of the innovators of the game, Paul Brown is on the level of Bill Belichick. There's not too many coaches that are on Bill Belichick's level, but I think, and I want to throw it to you, Ryan, and see if you think there should be changes made to the voting process, because to me, this is people holding a grudge. And we talked about it during our Pete Rose review, and I referenced it last night. The Hall of Fame is not about the Hall of being a good person. Whether Bill Belichick is or isn't, I don't know because I don't know him. But people that know him say that he has a lot of personality. He's very funny. He can be very nice. It's just people did not see that side of him because he's up there on the podium saying on to Cincinnati. Well, the Hall of Fame voters told him on to next year, you're not getting in. And I think it's because they were frustrated after years of him not giving them anything and being straight up. I mean, I'll call it what it is. I'll censor it, but he was an a-hole for most of his career. He was straight up. There's no denying that. However, he should be in the Hall of Fame right now. Right now.
The countless memes that came out afterwards about Bill Belichick and his girlfriend afterwards.
Oh, man.
Bill Belichick waited 49 years for his girlfriend. He can wait another year to get himself into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Oh, man.
But I looked it up while you were talking. And there have been 5 head coaches in the NFL who have been elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame on their first ballot.
Okay.
All right. So starts with Curly Lambeau.
Oh, of course. I remember him well.
Yes, we all do. We all do. In his time with the Acme Packers, later to be named the Green Bay Packers, followed by George Halas, also another guy I remember so well. As coach in the NFL. If they don't notice the underlying sarcasm, we're just not friends. Third was Chuck Noll. I remember him.
Yeah.
The fourth was Tom Landry, excuse me. I remember him. The hat, the wonderful hat. By the way, got to start in the AAFC with the New York Yankees, which is the t-shirt I'm wearing today.
Oh, nice.
And the last one was Don Shula. So 5 head coaches have been named as first ballot Hall of Fame coaches. Now, again, like you mentioned, Dustin, I'm gonna repeat your sentiment here. It's like, yeah, sure. I mean, you could say a lot about the fact that Bill Belichick wasn't the friendliest person to be around in terms of the media, would blow off answers, or would just be kind of abrasive to reporters and kind of passive aggressive. Although you could say more aggressive than passive, but was exactly the friendliest to the press. But it's the same way in baseball too. Baseball Hall of Fame Writers Association, the Baseball Writers Association of America is notorious for I wouldn't say playing favorites, but definitely being a panel that certainly has some vindictive ways. They're certainly vindictive. And Bill Belichick, again, and the media could talk about him, why they said no, we're not going to have we're going to have Belichick as a first ballot Hall of Famer. Which, look, I'll say this as a New York Jets fan. That man has and that team that he coached caused me more emotional damage as a fan for over 20 years. And not just because he coached the Patriots, but because of the fact that he flop sweated resigning from the New York Jets after Bill Parcells basically tapped him to be the next coach of the team when Bill Parcells basically said, I don't want to coach this team anymore. Mostly because Hess, the first owner, passed away, sold the team to Woody Johnson, and both of those men said, I'm out of here. I'll pass. Ever since Bill Belichick wrote in a napkin awkwardly and sweatily back in 2000 said, I'm resigning. I'm going to be the head coach of the New England Patriots. And Robert Kraft said, I'm going to give you control. For years, that man's teams caused me emotional damage as a fan because I don't carry my fandom outside of fandom to my regular. I don't let it spill over into my life. You can't. You have to separate the two. But even with all the emotional damage he did to me as a fan, he should have gotten to the Hall of Fame as a first ballot finalist. Now, I guess the next round for the finalists is going to happen in a couple months or maybe a month or two away. But as a reaction, the NFL released a news statement. The Pro Football Hall of Fame put out a news release the next day. It says, and I quote, "The Pro Football Hall of Fame understands and respects the passionate reaction of many fans, media members, and enshrinees of the Hall itself in light of published reports regarding the voting results of the class of 2026. It's that very passion that propels the game. The Hall also respects the members of the selection committee when they follow the selection process bylaws. It is an honor to serve as a selector. Each year, the Hall reviews the selection process and the composition of the 50-person selection committee. If it is determined that any member or members violated the selection process bylaws, they understand action will be taken. That should include the possibility of such selector or selectors would not remain a member of the committee moving forward. The selection of a new class is the most important duty the Hall of Fame oversees each year, and the integrity of that process cannot be in question." Close quote. So could there be ramifications from this? Maybe. But I think baseball ought to take a look too. Because a lot of times baseball doesn't look in the mirror. The Baseball Hall of Fame, they don't look in the mirror enough times to say, okay, we got to reform this process. There's too many people from a particular era of baseball that needed to be saved after the strike ended one season. Like, those players contributed, yes. Did they abuse some of the rules? Yes, they did. But they still hit those home runs or got all those hits or struck out all those batters.
Mm-hmm.
You can't leave their accomplishments because you think the game is because you think they sullied the integrity of the game. When we all know sports can be dirty at times, hella dirty. Look at the NBA, all the conspiracy theories that have come out from the fact that the 1985 lottery, the fact that the New York Knicks got the chance to select Patrick Ewing and pick him number 1 overall. The 2003 Western Conference Final and all the shady refereeing going on there. Even the gambling scandal that happened, with the fixed poker games. Yeah. All these sports in general is dirty, has always been dirty, and coaches, executives, players will use every advantage to win.
Mm-hmm.
Not Bill Belichick notwithstanding, of course, we knew about his role in Spygate and Deflategate. Can we stop using the word gate at the end of a scandal, please?
Yeah.
It's so old. It's so old now. It's old hat.
Shut the door on that.
Shut the door, like the hotel door at Watergate.
Shut the gate.
Damn it, I did it again. But yes, I think even with all the things that happened with Bill Belichick, all the scandals, all the emotional pain he caused me as a fan, yes, absolutely positively deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And I may have forwarded you a video on Instagram that was passed to me, and the caption basically said, well, some of the Hall of Fame voters must be Jets fans. And I'm like, you can't put this exclusively on Jets fans for Bill Belichick not being selected to the Hall of Fame. That's not on. It's no. And I recognize greatness when it appears, even if it's not for my favorite team or my preferred team or my hated rival.
You have to. I mean, even this year, I have complimented Matthew Stafford many times, his toughness, the way he played this year. And I always liked Matthew Stafford when he was on the Lions. I loved him. He was tough. He got beat up. He was one of the reasons you watch those Lions teams. He and Megatron. That didn't change once he put on a Rams jersey. I dislike the fact that he's on the Rams, but I still love Matthew Stafford as a player. And when he retires, I will look back fondly and I'll say, I really loved watching Matthew Stafford play, because that's still true, and the Niners. I loved watching Jerry Rice play. I am no fan of the Niners. And when he went to the Raiders, that didn't help either, because the Raiders were still, the Seahawks were in the AFC when he first went to the Raiders still.
AFC West, yeah.
And I did not like the Raiders. I still don't like the Raiders, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to recognize the greatness of Raiders past and present. Well, present. We'll see. I think Brock Bowers, he's got something to say. I think he's going to have a heck of a career before everything's done. But
yeah.
But it's just the point. Sometimes you have to separate it. And I will call myself out. I remember when Grant Woostrom, yes, I'm dating myself with football. Grant Woostrom was on the Rams, and I could not stand him. I could not stand Grant Woostrom. And then the Seahawks traded for him. And at the time, the Rams and the Seahawks were bitter rivals, because it was the Holmgren era. The Seahawks were trying to take control of that division from the Rams. The Rams were on the remains of the greatest show on turf era, and I just couldn't stand Mike Martz as a coach. That carried through. I never liked Mike Martz. I had no problem with Dick Vermeil, but something about Mike Martz irked me. But as soon as Grant Woostrom put on that Seahawks jersey, I'm like, oh, he's awesome. It's going to be great. And so I've been guilty of it at times, but you have to, as I got older, you have to separate that kind of stuff. A jersey does not make a player or a coach. Their actions do. And Belichick's actions, he should be in the Hall of Fame as we speak. He should already be in.
Got some more comments in the comment section from James saying, yes, Kevin Garnett was a fit. James, we live in the United States of America. You don't need to include the you in favorite. Gosh.
Oh, man.
He also says, say what you want about Belichick, but this situation is the definition of petty. I guess you need more than 8 Super Bowl rings to get in. That's right. 6 with the Patriots and 2 with the New York Giants as Bill Parcells, defensive coordinator. And he also says, real ones remember the legendary Bruce Gradkowski. Wow, that's
oh man,
it's kind of going off of that. So I was at my favorite watering hole last night, and the bartender says, name some random astronauts, and one of the waitresses goes, Neil Armstrong. That's all I know.
Oh man.
She goes, oh, and the people in the Challenger. I'm like,
oh geez.
I said, I'm like,
yeah.
Can you name any of them?
Yeah.
She's like, no.
Oh man. Was it okay? I might be
40 years ago on Wednesday.
Yeah. Yeah. And I only remember seeing the replays. Because if I remember the year, I was around, but I was extremely young. But was that the flight with unfortunately with Christy McAuliffe on it?
Christy McAuliffe.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And there's a great limited series on Netflix called Challenger: The Final Flight. Takes you through the history of the space shuttle program. Takes you through the pilot, every single member of that team that was on that fated flight, and the aftermath. And the aftermath was pretty. I wouldn't say brutal, but it was they had to make a lot of changes, and unfortunately, the space shuttle program no longer exists. It was canceled in 2011.
Yeah.
Hopefully they bring it back, but I guess with Elon Musk and all these other billionaires making all these improvements to rockets and how space travel happens, I don't think we'll ever need to see the space shuttle again. Maybe not in my lifetime or your lifetime, but certainly, we'll see it, bring it back, but we'll have it back. But we're going to bring it back to the NFL.
Yeah.
Because this week we had 2 more matches on Coacher.
Oh, man.
Joe Brady was basically, how can I say this? The Buffalo Bills, man.
Ooh.
You fired Sean McDermott just to promote Joe Brady. I mean, is there going to be any more changes in that locker room? I'm pretty sure there will be, but that was the first hiring this week. And then that's the first coaching match that was made on Coacher this week. But then a couple days later, we had another match on Coacher. Todd Monken will be coaching the Cleveland Browns.
Man.
And I have a reaction video to a reaction made on a podcast this week. We'll talk about that in a moment or two. But let's talk about these hirings, Dustin. And Joe Brady basically promoted a head coach. Todd Monken is getting his chance to coach in the be a head coach in the NFL. Let's talk about these coaching hires. Give me your impression about the Joe Brady being basically promoted to head coach for the Buffalo Bills.
This one to me makes almost no sense because Pagula in that horrific press conference, which will go down as one of the worst in recent memory, I'm sure. He basically threw Sean McDermott under the bus multiple times and backed the bus over him and said he couldn't get us over the hump. We had to move on from Sean McDermott. We had to blah 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 blah. This is Sean McDermott pressed hard to draft the wide receiver whose name is escaping me right now. I should know it. Geez.
Keon Coleman.
Yes, Keon Coleman. Yeah, thank you. And even though there's footage of Brandon Beane saying Coleman's the pick, this is the pick, unless somebody trades up and offers us something really stupid, this is the pick. This is ridiculous because if you're saying that you have to get rid of Sean McDermott because he couldn't get you over the hump, no disrespect to Joe Brady, but he was not like he's a decent offensive coordinator, but he's not like one of these coordinators where everybody's like drooling to go get, at least not from what I understand. And if you're saying you got to get away from Sean McDermott and kind of start something new, you're going to somebody that was integral to Sean McDermott's staff.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like you're hiring, and I think this diminishes both men, and I don't mean to do that. But you're saying we got to get rid of Sean McDermott. We're going to hire Sean McDermott 2.0. He's a little younger. There we go. And it doesn't make sense to me. The only thing I can think of is possibly either one, they wanted to do this from the beginning. Joe Brady was the guy from the outset, and they brought in all the other interviews as like a smokescreen. Or Josh Allen was angry when McDermott was let go, and then they said, okay, we need somebody that Josh knows, he has a good relationship with. Let's get Joe Brady. Let's bring him up to be the head man now. Because I thought, because I'm saying, okay, they're going to want to Josh Allen. They're going to want to get somebody that Josh knows well. Brian Daboll was out there. And Brian Daboll had a pre-existing relationship with Josh Allen, and Josh Allen had statistically some of his best seasons when Daboll was the OC. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, they're going to bring Daboll back to Buffalo. This was a perplexing hire for me.
It was a perplexing hire for me too. And you mentioned Terry Pagula having one of the worst press conferences as an owner. We'll talk about another press conference in just a few moments that went very awkwardly. But he was asked by the press, and I'm paraphrasing here, when they asked what was the moment when you said that you think that Sean McDermott had to go. He said, well, I looked at the players after that game at the loss in Denver, and I just knew it was time. And I'm like, that happens with every team that gets a playoff loss, you dummy. Like, you read the room. It's like, it's a playoff loss. And Sean McDermott's been there for 10 years. But who was the one that was primarily responsible for building that roster in the first place? Brandon Beane.
Yes.
And he got promoted.
Yes.
He got promoted to president of football operations. And after they fired McDermott, I'm going, something's not right here.
Yeah.
Either McDermott said something, or Brandon Beane kissed the ring of Terry Pagula too many times, and something happened. Something happened with the relationship between McDermott and Beane that caused Pagula to turn and fire McDermott. Like, pretty much like who was it? Seth Rollins on hitting the shield in the back with a chair back in the day. Kind of like that. But this was very perplexing. And like you said, Brian Daboll has a previous relationship with Josh Allen. Some of his best seasons came under Brian Daboll, and he was the one who allowed Josh Allen to blossom and turn him more into a quarterback who could, rather than just being a quarterback who can run, turn him into a quarterback that can use his feet when necessary, and also has a rocket for an arm, an absolute rocket for an arm. So he got Josh Allen to use those talents. Now, as for this hire, it's weird. It's weird. It doesn't feel like a hiring, a head coach hiring so much as it is just an internal promotion.
Yeah.
Like they knew, like, you're going for a job interview, and you think you nailed the interview. And you said, okay, I'm certain for this job. And they said, no, thank you. Like, you knew they had somebody else in mind before they had the interview.
Yeah.
They only had the interviews to just keep up appearances.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is going to be a controversial take, but I think the Rooney Rule either needs to be adjusted, because they adjusted the Rooney Rule this year, I guess this year or a couple of years ago.
Okay.
I think the Rooney Rule either needs to be adjusted again or done away with altogether, because Brian Flores, when he sued the league, just basically saying, just to say the NFL, to the Giants, to the Texans, and the other organizations, the Dolphins, and he sued those three. Basically, he's saying that this is tokenism, and he's right. It's tokenism. Yeah. It's just you're putting up a face on social media to say to people, yeah, we interviewed this person. Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you do just a 2-minute phone call? Did you do a Zoom call for half an hour? What kind of things did you do? So I want to see more transparency in how these teams hire these coaches. It can't be just, okay, we had a half-hour Zoom meeting or we had a 10-minute phone call. That counts as an interview. We'll put up on social media that we interviewed this coach for the hiring position, for the head coaching position. It's ridiculous. It's just it's saying you did it just for the sake of saying you did it, and it just says, that organizations, they're doing their due diligence, they're doing the right thing. I'm like, but there just needs to be more transparency. Yeah, I had to believe, yes, like you said, Dustin, all they did was fire Sean McDermott just to hire Joe Brady as their head coach, because Josh Allen said, I'm out of here I'm out of here if you don't do anything radical. So they decided to keep Joe Brady around, probably to placate him. But yeah, this Rooney Rule with the NFL, you're interviewing people just for the sake, you said for saying you interviewed people just to make yourselves look good. And Brian Flores is right, and it's akin to tokenism.
It's true, Ryan, and I couldn't agree with you more about the Rooney Rule. It's a tough road to walk, because I'm not saying that something like the Rooney Rule shouldn't be in place, because overall there should be more opportunities for minorities to coach NFL teams, and the NFL does have a feeling of
They have a program for such a thing.
Yeah, and it does have the feel of, I mean, look at who the owners are. They are, the majority of the owners in the NFL are very, very well-to-do white men. So I'm not sitting here and saying that the Rooney Rule, its heart was in the right place when it was created. I truly believe that. But people have taken it and morphed it, and it's being abused, Ryan. I agree with you completely. They're doing it to check a box. And you can tell. I'm with Brian Flores here, who apparently was offered a boatload of money to stay with the Vikings, but for me, he would have been the perfect hire for the Steelers. He matches their defensive identity. He's younger, so he would have been there. I mean, but here's the thing. Doing it to check a box and to make the optics look good. Oh, we examined every corner. We examined, but you can tell.
We turned over every stone.
Yeah, you can tell when it's disingenuous. And I do not fault Brian Flores for exposing this, basically. Or you get years like to even go into it. I will continue. I take your hat off to Mike Vrabel. He's done an amazing job with the Patriots. But I saw somebody that said, and it was on NFL Network, and I can't remember. I think it might have been David Carr. But as soon as the Super Bowl teams were set, they were reacting to it. And he's like, oh, the job that the Patriots have done. You brought in a real coach. It wasn't Gerard Mayo's fault. He never got a shot. He was set up to fail. He was set up to fail because you could see that Robert Kraft, as soon as Vrabel became available, Kraft wanted to bring him in. It's as plain as day, you know. So sometimes,
but he'll never be punished because of who he is.
Yes, and there's
none of these owners will.
No, you're exactly right. And there's some times where you can see that on the wall. You can just see it a mile away. Like I remember a few years ago, it might have been the Seahawks. They brought in somebody. It might have been after they got rid of Jim Mora Jr. They brought in somebody, and I'm like, they're just doing this to check a box, you know. And you can just, I don't know how else to describe it. Is just you can see it from a mile away. So I agree with you, Ryan. I think it needs to be kept in place because if you have no regulations, people are gonna. Things are going to happen, but I do think it needs to be heavily modified, and there needs to be more transparency about the process and how people are interviewed. I agree with you for sure. Do you want to talk about the Todd Monken hire?
Yeah, just a second. I get some comments here from James saying Sean Mannion takes over as the Eagles offensive coordinator. They have done well with former Green Bay coaches before. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yes.
James also says organizational competence appears to be foreign to the Bills front office. Yeah, it starts with with Terry Pagula. And I mean, even look at the Buffalo Sabres this year. Holy crap. The Buffalo Sabres are in a playoff spot.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the players, they said, I forget who it was. I saw the clip. They're like, are you focused on the playoffs? He's like, we're not focused on the playoffs. We're focused on winning it all. You know, so you got to love that from the Sabres, man.
Yeah. Confidence. Yeah. I mean, I saw a news item yesterday while I was getting some lunch, and it said that the Buffalo Sabres this past month had the most hat tricks in their team history for the month of January or for any month period in their history. I'm like, wow, this team's a wagon right now. James also says being interviewed just for the applause is more of an insult than not being interviewed at all. Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Even the most progressive and liberal person would have to agree with all what we're saying. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of coordinators, it's like head coaches. There is a carousel of coordinators being hired and fired in the NFL. Mike McDaniels officially is the new offensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Chargers. How do I know? They made a weird video on social media.
They did. Well, and did you see any of the clips of Mike McDaniel's press conference? I'm glad that man is still in the NFL. You know, he's out there with his glasses. He was making comments about Harbaugh's khakis.
Oh, shoot. We forgot to talk about Todd Monken.
Yeah, we got to talk about Todd Monken, though.
All right, we'll talk about Todd Monken. Now, from what I understand, this committee of Andrew Berry and the other clowns that run the Cleveland Browns. Sorry, I had to let that rhyme sink in for a moment.
Yeah, no, I was going to say something to emphasize the rhyme, and I'm like, no, people are going to misinterpret that. So I had to walk that.
They've had some people in mind for head coach, and we were wondering, okay, why is it taking so long? Usually, when the Cleveland Browns fire somebody and they hire somebody, they usually hire somebody like 2 seconds later.
Yeah,
they took their time with this one. They figured it, trying to figure things out. Now it looked like Rams pass game coordinator Nate Scheelhaas was going to be named head coach of the team, but Jimmy Haslam came in and Leroy Jenkins the entire thing and named Todd Monken head coach. And I guess Jimmy Haslam has had a semi for Todd Monken since 2019.
Wow. Okay.
So he's been wanting to hire Todd Monken for quite a long time. Like, I've had crushes that had less time than Jimmy Haslam.
Yeah.
Todd Monken.
He's been lusting after Todd Monken from afar.
He's been holding that boombox with a trench coat on, like John Cusack can say anything for 7 years. In your eyes.
He's got that torch. He's carrying the torch for
carrying that torch for Todd, and now he's got his man. So there's been some mixed reactions, and one of them I pointed out on the Belly Up Sports social media channels, on Instagram, on YouTube, YouTube Shorts, and on Twitter, about one-time NFL linebacker Emmanuel Acho on his podcast. I forgot what it's called. It's the Speak Easy. It's 11 o'clock in the morning, guys. Why are you drinking? But I think he meant Speak Space Easy, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's a dumb title. It's a dumb name. Anyway. So he goes on to say in his show, and it's a quotable moment, and has social media going on, catching fire. And I quote, "If I'm Shedeur, why am I listening to Todd Monken? What have you," in reference to Todd Monken, "won on an NFL level?" Close quote. To which I stated that his first head coach, because he was literally drafted by the Browns, got traded to the Eagles for Dion Lewis, and spent training camp with them. But his first head coach in the NFL, his first true official head coach in the NFL, was one Chip Kelly, who is currently looking for new employment, but he's probably still getting $6 million from the Las Vegas Raiders for sitting on his butt. That was his first year in Philadelphia. So for him to say, Shedeur, for all the criticism and all the flack he's given Shedeur Sanders on his channel for the last 6 months, like 4 to 5 months, about you ain't ready yet, you need to clean up your game, this and that. Oh, what? Oh, all of a sudden for him to say, you should look at Todd Monken and say, why should I play for you? It's so dumb. It's kind of like, dude, it's a 180 of to what he's been saying for the last 5 months about Shedeur Sanders.
It is, and it's very strange because, hey, say what you want. A lot of people have a lot of feelings about Shedeur Sanders, but there's no question in my mind that he looked better than Dylan Gabriel when he was in there. And to Shedeur's credit, now he made some missteps before the draft. We all know what came out before the draft, but there were very clear attempts by people to ask him leading questions, and try to get him to say something. And to his credit, okay, I didn't like when he did the pantomiming thing. I was like, I understand what you're trying to do, but that's not the way to approach that. But since then, he has been nothing but, from everything I've seen, anytime anybody tries to ask him these leading questions, he's not getting involved. He's saying, that's the coach's decision. I support my coach. And why would you ask me that? Basically, he's saying, I know what you're trying to do by asking me this. So props to Shedeur for handling himself competently. And just from, if I'm Emmanuel Acho, what input do I have? Why am I encouraging a young player who he had a hill to climb in the NFL? And he seemingly has climbed the hill a little bit. Like, there's a chance he could be the starter next year in Cleveland. We'll have to see what Todd Monken does. But what Achu's telling him would dismantle any progress that Shedeur has made, because in my eyes, he's made progress. And like I said, he's handled things maturely for the most part. So, that's not – it's such a weird – and like you said, Ryan, it's a weird about face. It's a weird about face too. And it's transparent. It's transparent. You're trying to farm engagement. That's what you're doing.
Yep.
And you're sacrificing how you truly feel or what your true thoughts are just for clicks, man.
Yep. All right. We're going to switch things up a little bit. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, our network media commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk about the coordinator carousels. We actually have an update. We have some breaking news as of 15 minutes ago.
Okay.
We're going to talk about Stephen Ross forgetting the names of his new head coach and GM. We'll talk about the Falcons and Kirk Cousins, the Vikings and their GM, the salary cap, and the Seahawks being for sale. But we're going to take a quick commercial break. Stand by and stay tuned for more No Credentials Required. This episode of No Credentials Required is brought to you by Invader Coffee. For the coffee lover who wants good, quality coffee with no bullshit and no filler, Invader Coffee is an ultra-premium, veteran-owned coffee company proudly delivering only the best coffee your hard-earned money can buy. They aim to only serve the highest quality, organic, air-roasted coffee beans sourced from free trade farms all over the world. They keep things simple. The best coffee at an affordable price in order to provide you with the value you deserve for your morning boost. 100% fair trade, 100% organic coffee beans, 100% air-roasted, 100% money-back guarantee. Visit invadercoffee.com, enter promo code BELLYUP at checkout, and receive 15% off your order. Gonna keep this quick. Invader Coffee, excellent coffee, the best coffee your money can buy. Check out our affiliate link in the description on the Facebook side and later on the YouTube side, also on the podcast side. And you can save 15% off your order with promo code BELLYUP at checkout, like everything that we shamelessly plug on this program. Invader Coffee, you get the No Credentials Required seal of approval. And there's good old puppers. Don't give them coffee. It gets messy in the studio.
Both of us are drinking Invader today. I am drinking the Bad Santa blend. I'm going through the last of it. And then I have Donut Dealer waiting for me, and I have Cookie Crumble. So I'll be on to that.
Yep. And the Chocolate Lust just went back into stock. So for just in time for Valentine's Day, get you some of that. All right. Coordinator carousel in the NFL. But we got some breaking news in regards to a coordinator position. So here we go. Let's play that beautiful, beautiful breaking news. Baba. According to Ian Rappaport on Twitter, according to sources, the Bills are hiring Broncos defensive pass game coordinator Jim Leonhard as their new defensive coordinator. They have agreed to terms, which sucks. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Jim Leonhard is a former New York Jet. He was being interviewed for the now filled defensive coordinator position. But he joins the Bills, which makes me a little upset because Aaron Glenn doesn't know a good defensive coordinator when it hits him in the ass.
Oh, no. George is getting upset.
George is getting upset. So congratulations to Jim Leonard. Best of luck to you in Buffalo. But I really, really wish you would have come home to one Jets drive. But Aaron Glenn is going to sink this organization into the ground next year, I have a feeling. But anyway, coordinator carousel. Let's talk about Mike McDaniels to the Chargers, made officially official on social media with a goofy video, because Mike McDaniels is a goofy guy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Speaking of New York Jets, Tanner Engstrand fired.
Mm-hmm.
That means, and at one point this week, the Jets had 9 coaching vacancies, including offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and a bunch of other coaching positions. And Brian Daboll, who we talked about in our last segment, he may join the Tennessee Titans as their offensive coordinator, contingent that he does not get a head coaching job anywhere else. Similar to Mike McDaniels, when he agreed to become the Chargers OC, he wanted to wait and see if there was any offers for head coaching positions that were open. He withdrew his name from Buffalo. He withdrew his name from Cleveland. I think he saw the light.
Yeah.
The light said, "Come home to California and keep on wearing those pants that he likes to wear so much, the capris." Let's talk about the coordinator carousel here, Dustin. Which coordinator news sticks out to you the most, and why?
Okay, well, I'm going to give you one pick that really stuck out to me, and I want to ask you a question about your Jets, Ryan, because I believe they hired an offensive coordinator too, but I'll save that for the end of what I say. I like the Mike McDaniel hire in San Diego. Maybe he can do something in LA. Sorry.
It should be in San Diego.
Yes, wishful thinking there.
You should have told Dean Spanos to bring the team back to San Diego in your conversation when you talk about
I should have,
the Seahawks,
yes.
Dustin. Come on.
Yeah. Now, but the thing that really sticks out to me, and the hire that I really like, and apparently he is being considered, last I heard, for the Raiders job, but there's other people being considered for the Raiders job, and we'll get to that as well. But Brian Daboll in Tennessee, to me, if this sticks, is the best hire, because what did I say, Ryan, when we were positing that Robert Saleh should get another head coaching opportunity? I said Saleh knows defense. He's going to rebuild whatever defense that he inherits as a head coach, and he will do that in Tennessee. And I said, put him with a strong offensive coordinator, you're in business. The combination of Daboll and Saleh in Tennessee, I think the Titans could be turned around in about 2 years or a year and a half. I really like the way that hire goes.
Yeah,
that
I agree.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, I agree, because the Tennessee Titans have a ton of cap space. I think they have the most amount of cap space currently in the NFL. There's also news about the salary cap, like I talked about in just a moment. We're going to kind of random quick fire do these quick segments, this segment. But I like that hire contingency that he doesn't get a full head coaching job somewhere. There's only 2 vacancies remaining in the NFL for head coaching jobs: the Arizona Cardinals and the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah. both are tough. Both are tough.
Yes, because of who owns those teams. I mean, but also, I mean, if you were a coach, would you want input from Tom Brady as to who to bring in for next year? Because again, the Las Vegas Raiders also have a lot of cap space coming up in the offseason. So both these teams, I mean, but going back to the Tennessee Titans and Brian Daboll, if indeed he does not get a head coaching, is not named as a head coaching candidate somewhere else, this is a great move.
Yeah.
Standing move, and I applaud their GM and Robert Saleh especially for having the knowledge to reach out to Brian Daboll and say, listen, we're going to build something great here in Tennessee. We got a great quarterback. He just needs some people around him to coach him up, and also an offensive line to protect him. Which, let's be honest, Brian Daboll didn't really have that in New York either. Except for the 2022 season when Barkley had an amazing season, and they got to the wild card and faced the worst 13-4 team in the NFL history. That's right, folks. I'm keeping that going.
Yep.
The other position, the other coordinator position I liked is Mike McDaniels to the Chargers, because I think, look, I know Jim Harbaugh loves him some Greg Roman. Greg Roman was his offensive coordinator in San Francisco when he had Colin Kaepernick. But much like another offensive coordinator from the past, Chan Gailey, Greg Roman's offenses are predictable. They get snuffed out pretty quickly, which is why you saw John Harbaugh fire Greg Roman a couple seasons ago and bring in Todd Monken to coach, to be the offensive coordinator. Now, Greg Roman's going to be part of a Jets in-person interview for offensive coordinator next week.
Oh, man.
For Todd Fowler of ESPN at 10:02 a.m. So an hour ago. So
man, all right, because that's what I wanted to ask you, Ryan, because apparently they brought in Frank Reich to interview for OC from what I saw. And I know Frank Reich, his last tenure as head coach went pretty bumpy in Carolina. But I would think having Frank Reich as an offensive coordinator, compared to what I know about some of the other candidates that they've interviewed, I would like Frank Reich to be offensive coordinator if he feels like the best option to me. I don't know what your thoughts on it are.
I got some thoughts. So going back to Tanner Engstrand, the offensive coordinator this season, was fired by Aaron Glenn. Look, for as bad as that offense played, Tanner Engstrand actually created some plays that could have been effective, provided the right person was at quarterback. Because he had to go through Justin Fields, Tyrod Taylor, who was effective when healthy, and Brady Cook, who, again, there's a reason why undrafted free agents are undrafted free agents.
Yeah.
Thanks for trying, but But I guess what happened was that Frank Reich was brought in to interview to call plays.
Oh, okay.
Offensive play caller, and I guess there was a philosophical disagreement between Aaron Glenn and Tanner Engstrand, and Aaron Glenn said, "Pack your bags, get your belongings, give me a playbook. You're done," which is unfortunate, because I think if the Jets brought in and the Jets are going to have a lot of cap space in this offseason too. Yeah. Plus 2 first-round picks. So I think they could, if they had bring in the right players, both in the draft and free agency, I think they could have done a lot better this year because of the plays that Tanner Engstrand designed. Guys got open. It's just the quarterbacks held the ball too long, or were flushed out of the pocket, or what. Now they're trying to bring in Greg Roman, or they're at least interviewing him. I don't know if he'll accept the job, but they also brought in Frank Reich. I don't know. Diana Rossini on The Athletic was being quoted on social media saying the Jets have plans. Like, are the plans to tank in 2026? Because look, that Engstrand firing brought me to the edge. I was this close to saying I'm done with this team.
Oh man,
I'm done with this team. And I was asked on Rod Peterson's show back in late November. He says, "Why are you still a Jets fan?" I'm like, "It's been 40 years." I didn't have a really proper answer for him, but now I'm going. The last 15 years have been an absolute train wreck, with the exception of 2015. 2022, give me a glimpse of hope. Unfortunately, it kind of swirled down the drain in 2023. Well, 2023 was what it was. But it made me question my fandom. I was like, do I really want to be a fan of this team anymore? Plus, if I were to switch teams, or if I were to abandon my fandom and switch over to another team, become a fan of another team, I don't want to be accused of being a bandwagon fan.
Yeah.
So would I just quit following my team, be a fan of the team, and just focus on being a fan of football, the NFL. So we'll see what happens. But they did hire Brian Duker as the defensive coordinator for this week for that vacant DC position. I guess Brian Duker and Aaron Glenn, they have a pre-existing relationship, but it looks like Aaron Glenn's going to be calling the defense from the sideline. I'm just like, oh God, here we go. Mm-hmm. Which makes a lot of Jets fans question why Aaron Glenn wasn't fired on Black Monday.
Yeah.
Like if he's firing all these coordinators and coaches, why didn't Woody Johnson just cut ties at the season's end because of everything what happened? I mean, Garrett Wilson was lost for most of the season. Breece Hall got his first 1,000-yard season and then was inactive for the last game of the season. His tenure with the Jets is in question. It's in limbo. We don't know if he's going to sign with the team or be transition tagged or franchise tagged. There's a lot of moving parts and pieces, and they say we're moving in silence. We're moving in silence. I'm like, well, for the moving in silence, there seems to be a lot of noise.
Yes, your actions are loud.
So just like the head coaching carousel, the coordinator carousel also continues to move in the NFL. We'll talk about these topics very quickly before we end the show. Stephen Ross this week in his press conference in Miami seemed to forget the names of his new head coach and general manager.
Yeah.
Do you think does the NFL need to just step in and sit to some of these owners and say, dude, we're taking over the team. You're no longer the owner of this team.
I mean, I think there does, in all seriousness, I think there does need to be a competency test. You know, you could do when you get to certain areas, and it'll never happen, but when you get to certain areas and positions and it becomes clear that you can't, forgetting your names of your head coach and your GM at their new introductory press conference, that's a bad look. And it makes it seem like you just because remember, everybody, Mike McDaniels, it came out and they said, oh, he's going to be retained as head coach. Mm-hmm. Then John Harbaugh became available, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, McDaniels is out.
Yeah,
and people joked at that time. They're like, McDaniels must have had the worst lunch with his owner of all time. But reports that have since come out, which there was a player that was having his off-season meeting apparently with Mike McDaniel. I can't remember who it was, and apparently Stephen Ross came in like a whirlwind, and then they had their meeting, and then McDaniels was out. And watching Stephen Ross stumble through this press conference and forget his own hires that he made, it calls into question. Maybe McDaniels wasn't the one that stumbled here. Maybe it was Stephen Ross. You know, this was crazy to watch to me.
I wonder if Stephen Ross was jealous about the capri pants that Mike McDaniels got to wear in the sideline during training camp. All right, moving on to the next topic. And yeah, it seems to be, I know the NBA stepped in. Is a great documentary by Urinating Tree about Ted Stepien and his tenure as owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers, because he kept trading first-round picks over and over and over again. The NBA had to step in and say, no, we can't do this anymore. NFL, for as much money as they make, maybe they need to step in and talk to some of these owners and say, are you okay?
Yeah.
Honestly, are you okay? Oh, goodness. A little bit later in the week, found out, according to the Atlanta Falcons are going to release Kirk Cousins, likely around the time the NFL season, the new year begins in late February, early March. Do you see a future where Kirk Cousins could be possibly playing somewhere else in 2026?
I don't think he plays anywhere else in 2026. I think Atlanta will release him, and then they will re-sign him to a restructured deal, something of some type because of two reasons. One, you brought in Kevin Stefanski to be your head coach. He and Kirk have a pre-existing relationship from their time in Minnesota. And the thing is, yes, Kirk Cousins is going to be 38, whatever he's going to be, 38, possibly 39 by the time the season kicks off.
He's going to be 38 during training camp. Hey, August 19th.
Oh, there you go.
Before my birthday.
There you go.
August. All the greats are born in August.
But I really don't think the Falcons have a choice because you don't know how Michael Penix is going to respond. You need an option in there, and Kirk towards the end of the season played competently for the Falcons. So you need to have some kind of plan, and also it just makes sense. Kirk knows Stefanski's offense. He can mentor the younger players on the team and kind of be a steward and help the players learn this new offense. So to me, I think Kirk stays in Atlanta after he's released. They restructure a deal, they get it done.
So I'm looking at Spot Track, and right now they do have an out for this season for this year, but it would be $35 million against the cap. $35 million. I mean, it's not the Denver Broncos cap hit with Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson trade, yeah.
Good Lord. But it's a hefty cap number. I agree with you, and I mean, I hate to be chalk about this, but yeah, I agree with you that he'll sign an extension that's going to be more structured to bring in some offensive help. And yes, he can be kind of a mentor for Michael Penix because, yeah, you don't know how Michael Penix is going to be after he tore his ACL last year. I also happen to think there's a couple other teams that could bring him in just to be a veteran. The Titans can serve as a mentor for Cam Ward. You go back to the Vikings.
Yeah. Help 9.
Don't ever call him that. That's a ban from this program if you ever call him that again. I also happen to think he could be either a New York Giant or New York Jet. But the Giants still have Russell Wilson. I think they're going to have Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston for another year, although I think Russell Wilson is he's done. He's done.
Yeah. Yeah, the end is nigh for Russ. There's no denying that.
No. All right, speaking of release, the Vikings fired their general manager, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, late this week. A news dump Friday, because that's all when the great news comes out. The Vikings fire him after several seasons with the team. I happen to think this is because of the swing and a miss with Sam Darnold. Had him for a season, had a bad last 2 games of the season in 2024. The Week 18 disaster in Detroit, and then the following disaster against the Rams the following week in the wild card. Had a chance to retain Sam Darnold. Sam bet on himself, goes to the Seahawks. They're now in the Super Bowl. Vikings stick with JJ McCarthy, no relation. And he had a disastrous first season starting with the team. They go to Nick Mullins, and I forgot the name of their other quarterback.
Oh, Max Brosmer.
Brosmer.
Yeah.
Max Brosmer experience. This was a fireable. I think that was definitely the nail in the coffin for him. Seeing the season and yes, they recovered. They bounced back.
Mm-hmm.
Vikings had an awful start to the season, won their last 5 games in a row, finished 8-9. I think they finished 9-8 actually. If I remember correctly. Just quick at the standings, just to verify if I'm right. And yes, I'm right. They finished 9-8.
Okay.
They had a great end of the season, had a great win on Christmas Day against the Detroit Lions, knocking them out of the playoffs.
Yeah, sorry, Julie. Sorry,
Julie in Michigan. And they actually brought back Brian Flores as defensive coordinator because I think too many teams were seeing the lawsuit he has against the NFL and saying, thanks, but no thanks. So he's going to be back at the coordinator spot with Minnesota next year. But I think they had to move on from Adolfo-Mensah just because of the giant swing and a miss he made at the quarterback position.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been the nail in the coffin, and there's been things that are coming out that apparently there were other factors. I don't know. I haven't read up because in today's day and age, it's tough to figure out what's real and what's not sometimes. Um, on the internet, we'll get to that in our last topic. Um, but I think the timing of this is what's weird to me. Okay, because if you were going to do it, you could do it like right after the season. But now he went to and because we talked about this briefly on Seahawks sessions, and Kevin pointed out this guy went to the pro day, so he was there like getting ready for draft planning. And now the Vikings released a statement saying that I forget who it was, their president of football operations or somebody, but somebody's basically going to take care of the position through the draft, and then they will hire their new GM after the draft. So
I gotta look this up. I gotta find out.
The Wilfs released a statement. It was very strange.
I found it.
Yeah.
Following our, I'll read it off. Following our annual end of season organizational meetings over the last several weeks, and after careful consideration, we have decided it is in the best interest of the team to move forward with new leadership of our football operations. These decisions are never easy. We're grateful for Quessie's contributions and commitments to the organization over the past 4 years, and wish him his 4 years. Wow. Wish him and his family the best in the future. Effective immediately, Executive Vice President of Football Operations Rob Brzezinski will lead our operations through the 2026 NFL Draft. Rob brings blah, 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 words. Yeah, that's a little weird. You're firing your GM at the end of the month.
Yeah.
You're going to have your EVP of football operations basically draft your team and then hire a GM afterwards.
It's something was going on. Yeah, I think the Darnold deal might have been the final nail in the coffin, but I think there were other things simmering, because if it was just the Darnold deal and letting him walk, fire him after the season's over so you can get a new GM in there and start the draft process. Don't fire him after he already attended pro day.
Yeah, that's silly. What a silly organization they are. No wonder they're cursed. All right, next to last topic. The NFL yesterday, the NFL informed teams that the salary cap will jump significantly.
Yeah, it's a lot. To
$305.7 million in 2026. It was this past season, it was $301.2 million. So they get an extra $4.5 million in cap space next season. And this could prove pretty big for some teams that are looking for some cap relief. I know that it's interesting that the news of Kirk Cousins possibly being released by the Falcons comes the day before teams are informed there's going to be a jump in cap space next year. Yeah. But again, it could lead to a restructured deal for him. But there's some teams that could certainly use the relief. New Orleans is one of them. I think Buffalo is another one of them. But it also gives teams that have a lot of cap space a lot more room to either retain veterans who were important last season, or bring in some additional veterans who can help the team for next season.
Yeah. I mean, and it's let's be honest. The NFL is a money-making league, and sometimes you got to spend money to make money. So I think the league is just realizing where they are, and they're saying, "All right, let's make some modifications," because this season has been one of the most chaotic seasons. I don't think anybody expected some of the teams in the playoffs to turn it around the way they did. There was some surprising upsets in the NFL. So then I think it breeded, the NFL might have said, well, hey, we got crazy ratings this season. We're people enjoyed not seeing the quote unquote established teams in there. And maybe they said, okay, if we give some of the teams more room, maybe there could be some more surprising teams next year, and there could be some crazy turnarounds next year. So I think this is the NFL. I don't want to say trying to level the playing field, but they just wanted to give some teams more flexibility, and it's just a sign of how much money they are making. Where they're like, here, we'll raise the cap.
Yep, the more money they bring in from merchandising, from TV contracts, from ticket sales, the more money they're going to have available to have teams work with bringing in more players and bringing in signing more veterans and bring in players that can help teams flourish.
Mm-hmm.
But not my owner. He thinks everybody else in the NFL is an idiot because thinking's overrated. Speaking of owners, our last segment for the day, the Seattle Seahawks, they are officially for sale. Now, here's my question. Will the crew at Seahawks Sessions put in a bid?
Well, we talked about this. Obviously, this broke before the show last night, and we joked about, going into the couch cushions and looking for some pennies to try to buy the team. However, I found a statement on Twitter. We didn't talk about it on the show because, per Ian Rappaport, a statement from the Paul G. Allen estate spokesman, we do not comment on rumors or speculation, and the team is not for sale. Oh. We've already said that will change at some point per Paul's wishes. So the team will be sold because Paul wanted it to be sold. But I have no news to share. Our focus right now is winning the Super Bowl and completing the sale of the Portland Trailblazers in the coming months, because his arrangement from his estate dictated that the Portland Trailblazers had to be sold within a certain amount of time. So I have long thought that they will wait to complete the sale of the Blazers first and then focus on the Seahawks. But when this broke, I was very surprised, and the price was purportedly to be $7 to $8 billion. So we started prepping to talk about this, but then Dan found this statement, and I went and looked it up because I wanted to make sure I had it right. But per Rappaport, supposedly someone from the Allen estate said it's not for sale yet. But who knows if they're just diverting it because they don't want the news to break and then take attention away from the team. In this, during the Super Bowl. Who knows? Because a report could come out after and say it is for sale. Who right. knows? Because too many people are reporting on this, and I tend to believe when there's this much smoke, there's fire. But as of now, according to the Paul Allen estate, they said the team is not for sale. Yeah. It will be sold at some point because Paul wanted both teams sold. And I always forget that he owned the Blazers as well. So
surprised they didn't move him to Seattle.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know, because many Seahawk fans, we will always carry a torch for Paul Allen because he is the reason the Seahawks stayed in Seattle. They were on tenuous ground, and he bought them and kept them in Seattle. So we are grateful for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if anything, if they win the Super Bowl next Sunday, that price is going to go up.
Oh, for sure.
The price is going to go up for sure. Yeah. James chiming in saying Kirk Cousins to have his Kerry Collins moment. What, you mean getting his jaw broken by Bill Romanowski in a preseason game?
Oh, man. What a callback. I forgot about that. Romanowski was crazy. Man, we should do that for a segment of the list. Craziest players in the history of the NFL. Lyle Alzado and Bill Romanowski, they got to be on there.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. He also says, I tuned in to watch Dustin raise the 12 flag.
Oh, man. I couldn't do it as well as Angry Doug did it, But I'd be honored if they asked me.
He also said 2008 Titans, Ryan. Look, you didn't specify what team and what year, so that's why I went with. So what do you want? All right, we're gonna get out of here and go enjoy the rest of our weekend. Royal Rumble's coming up at 2 p.m. Eastern. I don't know what Dustin's doing for the rest of his day, probably staying warm because it's freaking freezing in New York State.
Yeah, I don't want to go anywhere, but I got to go visit my dad, so I'm going to do that.
There you go. That's
and
noble. That's a noble thing to do.
Well, yeah, you gotta check in with Dad. I haven't seen him since around Christmas, so got to go out there.
All right. Well, before we get out of here, I just want to remind you about our social media channels. Follow us: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch. Just search for No Credentials Required, or just type in at NoCredsREQ. Also, check out our other podcasts and written content at BellyUpSports.com. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Music, iHeart, TuneIn, Pandora, and our host, Podbean, Freshly Brewed Podcasts. Hit that notification bell on Twitter and on YouTube so you know when shows go live, when clips are shown on the YouTube channel, or when there's just general show announcements like this one coming up Tuesday. Don't forget, Tuesday we'll be hanging out our final grades for every NFL team with our friend of the show, Drew Rulingham, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. And we might have some special apparel that we might be wearing.
To maybe bring a red pen, Ryan. Make some corrections.
Oh, definitely make a red pen. Bring a red pen. But we're gonna get out of here and enjoy the rest of our weekend. Thank you. Enjoy whatever you're watching tomorrow, because there's no football tomorrow. I'm gonna be watching the Stadium Series game from Tampa. It looks pretty cool. But thank you for tuning in to No Credentials Required, whether you're watching live or on replay, or you don't need a press pass to talk sports. We are presented by Belly Up Sports. For Dustin Henry, I'm Ryan McCarthy. Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Final grades for every NFL team, and we hope you join us or watch on the replay. In the meantime, have a great weekend. Stay warm wherever you are, especially on the eastern side of the United States.
Good morning, everybody.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.